is the leader who has inspired leaders, and these leaders choose to gravitate towards him naturally wherever he goes. He embodies leadership is action but not position. He brings with himself rich and diverse experience from some of our beloved consumer companies, ranging from consumer tech, telecom, and the largest commerce platforms such as Myntra, Jabong, and eBay. He stands at the helm of Xiaomi India as the president, spearheading their operations and the company's endeavors. With his remarkable achievements and outstanding journey, he demands your undivided attention. Please welcome Mr. Muralikrishnan inside the meeting room with me, Megha. Thank you so much, Murali, for meeting with us and making the time.
Thank you. Amazing introduction. You can see me blushing with joy. This has been such a fantastic introduction.
No, I think I must say you've earned it all, and we're so happy and thrilled that you could make time for us. So if you could maybe share with us those pivotal moments, those defining moments which defined you or made you the thought leader that you are today.
And I'll actually go back to perhaps even my childhood upbringing, right? That uniquely Indian middle class family, where you have a little bit of something, but definitely not everything. But you have enough to live a good, wholesome life and inculcate the right sort of values, which sort of makes you who you are. And it's many years, but still that solid foundation on which, like many of us, sort of grow up as we speak. So that's number one. Number two, I'd look back on my college years, where I think I've been fortunate to have some amazing friends, people that I'm still very, very close to even today.
Yeah.
And I'll give them a lot of credit for making me who I am. Then I'll go back to my years at IIM Calcutta, where of course there was a little bit of academic learning, not much, but a little bit. But the two things that I learned there stand me in good stead even today. One, how to handle stress and pressure. Number two, more importantly, I learned about people. My first job.
Yeah.
I did 3 years in tough life in India's rural market selling paints. Right? Imagine like blue-white ambitions coming out of one of India's premier B schools, and then you're packed off to hardcore rural market. But the kind of learning that I had made sales, managing relationship, and doing the grunt work, right? Going out there in the sun, sweating it out, and then figuring out how to improve stuff. Like one of those solid foundations that stands me in good stead even today. The kind of smart people that I could work with, and the experience in stakeholder management and solving novel problems which I didn't even know existed. Again, a fresh set of experiences, and I could keep going on. But I figured my unique Mojo comes in taking something from 10 to 100, 100 to 1,000. My 5 years at Xiaomi, I've just finished 5 years here. Again, just to talk about the experience with large scale, opportunity to impact 200 million Indians in terms of the number of smartphones that we have shipped.
Wow.
Again, the kind of smart people that we work with, and of course the various ups and downs that the business has gone through. I'm grateful for just the sheer smorgasbord of experiences and opportunities that I've gone through. It's a privilege.
Oh, wow. I thought I'll probably be summarizing this, but I can't. I mean, this is so broad, and I think it's also beyond me, beyond most of us. This experience that you carry, Murali, is so rich, and I'm thankful that you are sharing with all of us. I have a time travel question for you. So, given an opportunity, if you could go back in time and maybe talk to your younger self, what advice would you give?
I would definitely tell myself to be even more curious about the world around us. Look, this world is a puzzle, right? And nobody figures out the entire puzzle, right? But with every experience, every book that you read, every movie that you see, every podcast that you listen to, and you piece together a little bit and connect the dots. And the more you connect the dots, the more you become worldly wise. So curiosity is definitely one aspect. The point on curiosity, let me just boil this down to 4 questions, which I think will help all of us, and it helps me even today. And I'll boil this down to 4 simple questions that you should ask in any situation.
Okay.
The first is why? Why is this happening? Kyun? Right? Because then you get to root cause and why it's happening and what is the causality, right? So A is happening, B is happening, but why is it happening is something you need to understand. And then you ask why not, which is This is happening because of this. If I change this, what will happen?
What we are.
Right? So alternate scenario analysis. So why and why not? These are two questions. And then you get to the other piece, which is so what?
So what?
Right? What's the importance of this? Right? Then you put things in perspective.
Wow.
And then you ask what next?
What next?
Right? I've asked why. I've looked at alternate scenarios. I've tried to understand the importance. And then I'm trying to say, okay, therefore, what will happen in the future? What next? If people can keep asking these 4 questions in any situation, I think they'll become much better professionals. The second is, I would tell myself to be a lot more people-friendly. Right? I've figured over the years that a lot of things matter, but nothing matters more than relationships. Right? People, networks. And it's the network that you build, that social capital that you build. As you grow in your career, you'll start realizing the value of that social capital. Third thing that I would tell myself is demonstrate enthusiasm, demonstrate energy. Right? Always put your hand up and say, look, can I do this? Like when you're in a corporate setting, right? When you're that person who's willing to take those opportunities, growth will come your way. Plus 1/4, and definitely tell myself to save early and save often. That makes a big difference.
I'm sure. I think at least a younger self of me could have made best possible use of the advice that you're giving. Again, curiosity, because when you're young, most of the time that curiosity is shot down, and you're kind of given those standard answers, template responses, and you're asked to make good with it. And then your network definitely defines your net worth, right? We are this generation which is born out of instant gratification. So if you need a partner, left, right, swipe, you get a partner. You want something, 10 minutes stops. Everything is out, delivered on your doorstep. So which is actually depriving us of those values and life skills which the mature generation had. Something like a perseverance, something like a grit, something like probably patience. So how does this generation, especially the Gen Z and millennials, acquire back these skills now?
Every generation has a different context, and they're living as per the norms of that context. I'm not trying to pass a value judgment. However, this desire for instant success, instant growth, instant benefits, instant everything, optimizes for the short term and sort of gives you a myopic view of the long term. I would definitely advise patience and being able to stay the course will definitely help not just the younger generation, but any generation, including my generation.
Okay, so this one is a personal favorite. And it also comes from, I think, because it also resonates a lot with my own personal journey. So coming out of those institutions, the schools and colleges, we did not understand failure. And I'll tell you why so. Because when we were also participating in competitions or seminars, even if we were not winning anything, we were still given a participation certificate just because we were showing up. So that was the institution's way of acknowledging that, hey, look, that's a pat on your back. You did well. But then coming out of those institutions and when you step into the real world, you realize, okay, look, this is not working anymore, because that's when real failures begin to hit you. And of course, the percentage of you attaining success versus you getting a failure, the probability is of course higher for a failure, right? So we weren't equipped to handle failure. So, and that's a problem which most of us face. And most people don't even talk about it because this is not a glorified subject. And but people also presume that I'll probably be looked down upon and that if I talk about failure. So any advice that you could possibly give us, and what's your opinion on failure?
Multiple dimensions, but a big question actually. Failure, I think, is a subject worth talking about in great detail. So firstly, it's the context of failure, right? Now, there is one context where you consider yourself to be a failure. The other context is you're a social failure. People around you consider to be a failure. Firstly, one needs to ask oneself, look, whose benchmark are you dealing up? Again, let me qualify here. It's very easy to say, don't bother about what others say. Measure yourself and your own self-worth. But I know it's not easy. It takes a lot of growing up in wisdom to come to a stage where you can shut yourself from the outside world and focus only on the inside and measure. So that's one part, right? Your own locus of control, internal or external. The second thing is, I learned very early in the day a formula for satisfaction. A mathematical formula for satisfaction. 12. And satisfaction is a function of outcome minus expectation. It's a function of outcome minus expectation. Outcome minus expectation in brackets. Now let's unpack this. You're satisfied when you have a very good outcome, or you're satisfied for a normal outcome, but when your expectation is very low.
Yeah.
Right? Because outcome minus expectation. So you have a choice. Either you really excel, in which case you have fantastic outcomes, or you be pragmatic, reasonable, rational, and have no expectations.
Yeah.
Right? When you have no expectations in anything, of your job, in a relationship, with your friends and family, in anything, as long as you're able to calibrate your expectations and keep them low, reasonable, pragmatic, practical, grounded, right? Satisfaction will keep coming to you. So always remember outcome minus expectation. I focus on keeping my expectations low. Right? Because if you keep your expectations high, you will be disappointed with people. You will be disappointed with yourself. And there's no point in beating yourself up. The third point that I'll make on failure. Failure often happens because of, let's say, a mistake. Something that you should have done this way, but you've done that way and things didn't work out. In 2014, I did a startup, health tech startup, which did work out. I started quite early. But of course, had a lot of learning from it. One of the things that I got away from that was I converted that to a TEDx talk. So it's called, I think, Adventures of a Wannabe Entrepreneur. That's the title of the TEDx talk.
Oh, okay. I thought you'd probably sharing some answers from the rapid question that are coming up. So, okay, this is a quick one. So we all know that you've aced your time management skills, and some of us really struggle with this one. So how do you make time for things that actually matter? Some suggestions that you can maybe share with us.
I truly believe this. When people say I don't have the time for something, they're lying. Right? It's because they're not prioritizing it. If you really put your heart and mind to it, you'll be surprised how much inefficiency there is in your daily life. Right? There are a lot of dev moments when you're doing not the most utilitarian stuff, not the most useful stuff, or not the most engaging stuff that you really like doing. And if you're able to be a little bit more self-critical and self-introspecting, you'll find those pockets. 15 minutes here, 30 minutes there, an hour before you go to bed, etc. You'll find stuff for the things that make a difference to you. And that could include calling like a friend that you haven't spoken to in a long time, or messaging them, etc. You will find time. It's a question of you having to prioritize. All these things about I don't find the time, I don't think.
That's the right. I think prioritization is the key, of course, and finding those right, I think those vestigial pockets in the day which we're not even looking at it. So
vestigial is the right term to use, I guess.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. And so I think this one is going to be like really easy for you, because you have aspirational health levels already, which most of us don't have. We struggle to get out of the bed and probably find motivation to maybe hit the gym or just get some basic workout in. So any suggestions that you can possibly share with us so that we can probably get us active? And I think also what I hear from people who actually do this on a regular basis, that it's also life-changing in a way. So if you can maybe share some of your learnings, it'd be great.
Let's break this down to activity, the food that you eat, and the sleep that you get. Right? And these are the three maybe ingredients. Maybe there are more, but let me just simplify it to these three. And in terms of activity, I'll tell you what I follow. I try and get anywhere between around 45 minutes of some work. It could be a workout, it could be a run, it could be a bike ride on the weekend. And I end up traveling a lot. So the first principle is try and get regular activity, not more than 3 day gap between 2 successful workouts. Number one. Right. Number two, food as far as possible. Home cooked food any day for me. But the third and the most important part is sleep. I'm not someone who will tell everybody you need to get 8 hours of sleep. I don't know whether that is the right number, but if you can get anywhere between 6 to 7 hours consistently, if you can't get that, hey, then you have to change something about your routine. Right? 6 to 7 hours and wake up early in the morning. And I'm not saying like 4 a.m. Okay, wake up by 6. And if you don't like working out, go for a walk, go for a light jog, do get some activity, and the rest of the day sort of works itself out. And if I were to add a fourth thing now that I remember is hydrate. Drink lots of water. Water is like a fantastic energy.
Wow. So they always say, just do the simplest things right, And I think that's what you're even calling out here. And I'm kind of puzzled myself that these are the things which are lying right in front of us, but we don't do it most of the time. That's why we don't even get it right most of the time.
People seek shortcuts and initiations, and therefore fad diets, fad workouts, like gizmos and gadgets to do all of this. But for generations together, for centuries together, humankind has evolved doing some basic stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe there is a merit in actually thinking about some of those and implementing those. Is absolutely, I would put it.
Absolutely. Thanks. And I think this is like too much for me to also get my head around. Whatever you say, it's a learning, constant learning even in this conversation. And I'm so grateful that you shared that. So it's a wrap on our first segment, which is more like the thought-provoking segment.
All right.
So we'll probably move on to the next one.
I hope it provoked enough thoughts.
I'm sure it will. So the next one is going to be rapid questions for you. First question, your life motto would be?
The opportunities to improve art and guess.
The second one, your 3 favorite productivity apps?
The calendar app, super important.
Yeah.
2 would be the smartphone itself, because so much of our life revolves around this. 3 is any note-taking tool. I'm a passionate note-taker. Any meeting, anywhere, I take notes.
The third one, if you could have a superpower, what would that be and how would you use it for the benefit of others?
I try and solve Bangalore's traffic problem.
Your favorite book or podcast?
One, Atomic Habits, James Clear. I really like that. There's a book called Catalyst by Chandramouli. There's a book by Seneca. It's called On the Shortness of Life.
Okay.
Very, very insightful, slightly philosophic, but a book that I truly appreciate. Could keep going on, but yeah.
If you were to write a book about your life, what would you name it?
One would be the Hawkeye Project. My Twitter handle is Hawkeye. Probably I was the earliest guy to set up a handle on Twitter, and I called it Hawkeye. There's a story behind it, but that's for a later date. So either I'll call it the Hawkeye Project or I'll call it What a Long Strange Trip It's Been.
So the last one, your favorite way to unwind after a long day?
Would be spending time with my pet dog, Mojo.
Oh,
Yeah.
Now that you said that, it also brings us to the very special segment of the show. So, and I remember this has been your life quest where you travel thousands of kilometers to find your mojo. I would actually like to show this poster which was doing the rounds in the city of Bengaluru. So, did you find your mojo?
This is perhaps a life-defining moment. Just to tell a quick snapshot of the story. So I landed in Beijing on a work trip late on a Sunday evening. And late in the night, local time Beijing, I get a call from my wife and she was super upset. And she basically said, look, Mojo, which is our pet dog, was 9 months old at that point of time. She was taking him to the vet and he didn't want to go to vet. And then he just resisted and the collar came off and he just bolted across the door in big Bangalore evening traffic and he disappeared. And she was looking for him. She couldn't find him. She was super upset. And I'm there for like a week-long set of work meetings. Spent a sleepless night. And then decided in the morning that if I do not get back to Bangalore to find him, I will never forget once. When we got back, I got back. And I thought, look, I'm going to get back and spend 1 hour in the streets of Bangalore where we got lost and find him. Which then turned out to be like a massive 6-day dog hunt, where we've been fortunate to have the love and support of like totally unknown strangers. Wow. It is amazing to see how the pet community in Bangalore came together. Completely unknown people like offering me rides and planning out routes on where to look for Mojo. Completely voluntary.
Wow.
Right? And everybody came together from 10,000 posters. We put up in that vicinity till finally 3 youngsters spotted him one Sunday evening. Right? It took like a good 6-7 days to find him and we found him. I'm still without my life.
Wow. So every time I get to hear this from you, I still get goosebumps and I'm so glad for people who came to stepped up and they helped you find Mojo.
Total strangers. I'm blessed to have that support. It was a miracle to find him.
Yeah.
Maybe it's easier to find a needle in a haystack, but yeah, the phone Mojo, it changes lives.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you did. So with that, Murali, it's a wrap to our session. Thank you so much. The conversation has been truly inspiring. And thank you for sharing your retrospective insights. And thank you for continuing to pay it forward. Thank you so much.
Hope people benefit from this and pay it forward themselves. Thank you so much, and thank you.